Sideline. Side hustle.
I never heard of it.
Ball bat. Yeah. Roger, I could have come up there. You got a chair up there? I could have come up there.
But now they will.
I see you got some cases in here. You brought, oh, that's that hot spot. Okay, that's that Zoom spot. Okay, one of them's a 20. Yeah, one is a 19. Yeah. That's the program. This is the one that hooks your radio to your computer. All right. This gets me on wires. That's been programmed for. Oh, and update your firmware. Well, yeah. We pass this back and forth. We may need to update our software. Probably by now they got that stuff worked out pretty good because they've had a few for a while. So, yeah. Thank you, buddy. Huh? I wanted to play around with it. I had a WR 200, but all I really need to do is play around with what I want to do is just a swamp cable. So, found some cable. Yeah. Yeah, that goes from your radio to your computer and you run WireSec software and it lets you get to not everything as much as the box would. Right. I got you. Okay, buddy. Thank you, buddy.
Dad would do it, but I mean, it just be like.
Yeah.
I tried it.
We can't basically, we're just right. Well, he's encouraging crowd.
Okay.
We need to hammer on that topic. Bang it out next month when we do it. I'll get it there.
Where'd you grow up? Where did I grow up?
Right. Right. Exactly. I told Bob, he said he can only be.
Yeah, I get my
There he is.
Well, actually, when the guy left, we all stepped in and finished that year. This has been almost a whole new year. It's been well over a year since then. Remember, we got a year ago, we were here, down there. And even a half year before that. Yeah. Hey, Mike, I'm doing good. I may have a question or two for you now. Get out of here. Yeah. You might have. Yeah.
Sounds kind of covert.
I need somebody that
That's right. I don't really. It's got gas somewhere. Where's that bill?
go in there. What's that? I've only got two favorites. And I've only got three. One's All-Star, one's Fusion, one's the other. Okay. When I go to the 90, everything's fine. I transmit, it shows 91. But somehow I kept just sending the 4,000 man. And I go to pick 3121, it shows up when I key up, it says 4,000. So, and then it says I'm sending that the thing to unlink. I don't know how to get that out. So somehow I need to just reset that one profile. Maybe just go over or something. Well, I hate to mess it up. What I got is working with the phone and all that stuff. Yeah, I just didn't. I didn't even know.
They were tearing up the railroad crossing. It was like there was no detour.
Oh, yeah.
I'll figure it out.
You got it. Well, we appreciate you coming up, having up. Appreciate that. Yeah, but trying to get down here.
I never, I'm a friend of theirs out here.
I don't know if Mike's.
Yeah.
I only got
Now, I do have 3121 on my handheld that goes through the computer, so I can get on it that way, and then you guys can maybe talk to your hardware software, and I'll reset that profile, so it don't keep sitting at the disconnect.
I know in mine, sometimes it does automatically go.
We have like 2 threads.
Right. Yeah. So do you disconnect, you send that command on the air?
Did they get flagged?
Hear ye.
Yes, that's fresh.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the FAR's October meeting. First of all, is everybody signed in with Bart as they came in?
Just leave your dollar as you'll.
I'm really not too well prepared. It's been a while since I've been up here in front of everybody. But we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. I'm Bob Brown, KI4JWK.
I'm David, Whiskey 9 Kilo Hotel Zulu.
Alpha Alpha 4 Hotel Fox.
I'm Loretta. I'm Linda Dawson, AK4GC.
I'm Glenn Dawson, AK4 Check.
Roy Colson, KJ4YSY. Carl Smith, WX1ATC.
Mike, KD4SN. Joe, KD3B.
Todd Childers, KQ4QJR.
Bobby Rolfe, KB4QNR.
Bob, KK2ICU.
Mike, KY4AC.
Tim, KY4 LEX.
Hi, Aaron, K4RB.
Katie, W4KTG.
And I'm Kevin, KR4ARL.
Bart, KF4CD.
I'm Fred, WA3IDX.
I'm Abby, K9HML.
Kim, KF4MDM.
Jim, AI4SR.
Welcome, everybody.
I'm Bart, KB4FEE.
I guess a few things is, we have election of officers coming up. If you are interested in serving, please let someone on the board know and get your name, information, get that stuff going. It's probably the big one. We did some more work this weekend on the shack. So the weather station's now up and running. It's available to see data on APRS-FI. And hopefully the APRS stuff is working. So we're still playing with that a little bit. David, go ahead.
You want me to bring them up to speed?
Yeah.
Okay. I won't be long, but 3 stations are up and running. We still got some work to do on the big beam. But on the short tower, we've got a few little finishing things to do inside, but everything is functioning as it is right now. I just finished the patch cable for the external tuner, and it tunes up TM160 on the radio in the shack. So that's good. Then, once we get everything going, or even before, you know, the idea, and I was just real quick, a little segue here. Anybody that is interested in contesting or has experience in contesting, we would really like to start doing that here with the club's equipment. We've got some nice equipment, and we've got some nice antennas. And for those of you that live in HOAs or whatever, it's just a shame you belong to this club and here's all this equipment sitting over here. So we want you to use it. I mean, that's why we do all this work. So if somebody is willing, a couple of people, it would be awesome if we could start like a little contesting committee. And I'm not talking about any heavy-duty, grinding, 48-hour contest. We're not ready for that. But just to play around, have some fun. But I can show somebody, or a couple of people, each station and the capabilities of each station, the way it's set up now, and what antenna they're hooked to. And, you know, the idea is to have 4 different stations going on 4 different modes, or 3 different modes, on different frequencies, obviously. And be able to work shifts and maybe do a Saturday contest or something, even if it's something we do amongst ourselves and make it up, you know. But it would be fun. People that don't have a lot of experience with radio, it'd be a good thing to go in there and start playing radio and having fun and with the equipment. Learn how to use the equipment, because there's some older equipment in there too. So that's kind of going to be the challenge, is to learn how to use a manual tuner, you know, and to figure it out. So there'll be somebody to help you. But that's what we want to do. So I'm looking for volunteers to see me after the meeting if you're interested in being involved in that. But we do have 4 nice stations down there. There's a little more work to do on the beam in that radio, but we're almost done. It's been a long time coming. We're almost done. The APRS system's been moved. The Echolink system's been moved. So that means on the tall tower, we actually have, we've got a Rigo Ranger 2-meter at the very tip top of that tall tower. So Simplex should, I mean, it's up about 90 feet. Simplex should work really well from that antenna, I would think. So if you want to come in and work some Simplex, 2-meter Simplex, that would be awesome too. I mean, it's here for you. If anybody has like a 440 radio, mobile, that they're maybe sitting in a closet they're not using, they'd like to donate to the club, we'll give you a nice tax receipt. But we are in need of a 440 mobile to go in there, because I have a 440 beam that I'm going to put up as well. But I can't think of anything else. I mean, it looks nice outside. We've got the old box off, the new box is full. It's been a long time coming, but it's coming to the end of it. But, you know, that's basically it. So see me after if you want to get involved in contesting and see about what's going on in the shack. Art, you want to go next?
Sure. Back several meetings ago, several people donated money for the American Cancer Society. So we started to accept that money, not as a match, but we would accept donations, and as a one-time donation to American Cancer Society. It's now ran its course, and I set it up to finish the 1st of October. So if you still want to donate to the American Cancer Society, I'll be writing a check this week to them. So far, we've got $300. So this week, I'll write a check sometime towards the end of the week and donate that money to them. That's all I've got.
Mark, Art, anything for us? Just to reiterate part of what you said, Bob, that elections, officers are coming up shortly. If you have never been a club officer, it's time to think about becoming one. Think about putting your name in the hat of being you're part of the club now, be a little bigger club. And think about running for office.
Bob? I got 2 balls back there.
I don't have anything other than to encourage everybody to please, if you consider running, please do. And we need people to run for these offices. You know, we just can't keep going with the de facto one and done, you know, one and out, nobody running against other people. So we need a real election. So we need people to send in nominations, for sure. And also to volunteer if you would like to be an officer. So, yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that. And contesting in the shack, David even mentioned maybe, you know, we could get pizza and bring it in or something like that on that Saturday that we're contesting. Just like that. We'll work in shifts and it's a lot of fun. So, yeah, everybody come on out. We'll start. We've got some contests coming up. We got like what, sweepstakes and 10-meter contests and a bunch of stuff coming up in November and December, I know. So probably this month too. So we'll have to look at the contest calendar and David can make a determination maybe on which one we'd like to try to go for first or half a day at it or whatever. So, yeah. I just want to reiterate that for what's been said already. That's just where I'm coming from. That's all.
Mr. Hoffman?
The only thing I have to say is, you know, now that we've kind of beat the election thing to death here now, thanks, Bobby.
Thank you.
What we need is some volunteers for people that want to be in like charge of a group of people. You know, little like committees, like David said. The contesting committee, you know, get it out to the people. We're gonna need a nomination committee, you know, that they can take the nominations in and sort them and, you know, get all the information to whoever needs it to get the ballots made up for it. You know, we need people like that in this club too.
Yeah.
Because it seems that just only certain people are doing all these things. We need to change that, get everybody involved in it. That's all I have.
You're up, Jim.
Let's see. We first of all, we're still running our upgrade classes. We want to get either the novice or general or the rec, or going through all the tests over and over again, teaching stuff that don't make a lot of sense to people. And that's still going on every Wednesday night at 7, so feel free to drop by. There is no starting or any particular start date or stop date. We're just going to go until everybody gets the lesson. And then let's see, we still run our Jim and Dave's TechNet on 146.760 repeater, and we're only getting 8 or 9, 10 check-ins at best. The nets have gone real well. We get some good questions, and a lot of participation, and they do go an hour and a half sometimes. But it'd be nice if we could get a few more people to check in on that.
What nights are those?
I'm sorry?
What nights are those?
Thursday. Thursday night.
At 8?
8 o'clock, 147. Let's see. What is this, October? November. What we got planned for the Monday? I mean,
For November?
November.
This is October, so tonight's grounding, you're gonna do it right.
So what's November?
November should be elections. And then December,
Okay, and then December.
December will be the silent auction.
Yeah, silent auction, okay. And I don't have anything for January, so anybody wants.
So January's Winter Field Day.
Oh.
That's right.
Okay, so good, so by February, anybody wants to see something special as far as a guest or a presentation or a video or whatever, just let me know, we'll put it on February schedule.
I do have something when you're done, just that I forgot to mention.
As far as, we did talk about having a 440 fox hunt, rather than the 2-meter fox hunt, 440 fox hunt. I just ran out of time, so we may do that next year, but the next fox hunt we have will be next spring with our standard 2-meter fox hunt. That'll give you time to build your 440 Yankees, or some kind of 440 directional antenna between now and next fall. before the winter. So I gotta get going on that, but, we'll announce that on Facebook and stuff, we'll and, that's all I have.
Okay, I just wanted to add, just to reiterate about the stuff that Bars Club has that you guys are a part of. We have the 146760 repeater, which is one of the highest profile repeaters in the whole area, if not the highest profile repeater. We've got a brand new antenna for it. As soon as the tower climbers come, we're going to replace the antenna. The antenna is located on Channel 27's transmission tower out on Winchester Road. The repeater's in the basement. We've got a repeater in Cynthiana. That's a pretty high profile repeater. And it's 147165. We've got a DMR repeater that is out at 98.1 The Bull next to Sam's Club on New Circle Road. It's got 2 antennas. It doesn't have a duplexer. The antennas are separated by 200 feet. The receive antenna is at 500 feet. The transmission antenna is at 300 feet. It's a very, very high profile DMR repeater. We've got, Bob's got a D-Star repeater on top of the blue building downtown Lexington. And we've also got a Wires X repeater, which I'm looking for a new home for it. It's currently in Georgetown, but it's a little compromised where it's sitting, so we'll find a new place for it, hopefully by spring, and it'll be a well-used machine as well. And we've also got the 220 machine that's out on Nichols Hill Road, and the 440 machines at the same place on Mike Monafo's tower out at Winchester Road and what's the name of the other road?
Nicholasville and
I meant
Pasadena.
Nichols Hill Road and
Pasadena.
Pasadena. He's got it's a 100-foot tower out there, right?
150.
So there's two repeaters there as well. So we've got repeaters all over the place. So I mean, we've come leaps and bounds in the last several years as far as what we had online then and what we have online now. And just use it. That's why we do this stuff. That's why the club does it, puts it up. We want you to use it. We want everybody to feel like it's theirs, because if you're part of the club, it is yours. We've got a new Mesh-tastic node up. Pardon me. It's here on our short tower, but it's beaconing. And there's a node in the box. If you haven't played with Mesh-tastic, somebody more versed with it can explain it to you, because I can't. Maybe Bob can sometime. I think we ought to do maybe in February, we'll do a presentation on Mesh-tastic. What do you think, Bob? Oh yeah, the lab downstairs? It is a nice lab. If you got anything you want to work on, we got nice equipment down there. Real nice. You can fix or work on or investigate or tear up just about anything you want to tear up with the equipment we've got down there. So come use it. But yeah, as you guys belong to a really progressive club that is moving forward and is doing lots of things, and dust is not settling on us. We keep pushing and keep pushing, and there's always something new to do and something new to explore, and we're moving forward. So I hope you decide to get involved and like you said, take on a leadership role sometime and think about it. Small steps. But coming up, I just want to say all that up front. Coming up is, like, I've been doing the field day things for several years now, a decade or more. I'm going to have some surgery after the first of the year. And evidently they're going to gut me open like a fish. So I don't know what kind of shape I'm going to be in January. So may need somebody to take over field day, and I'll help you all I can on the phone or whatever, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get out there climbing around. I don't know if I'm going to be allowed to, because I've got a wife and 3 grown daughters that might strap me down. So that's it. So think about it. It's not a massive job, but it can be if it's 9 degrees outside. So, but we do it field day twice a year. It doesn't matter. It's the 4th weekend of January, 4th weekend of June. And the purpose of it is, it doesn't matter the weather, because that's the purpose of it. So that's all I got. Thanks.
world. Anybody upgrade, birthdays, or anything? Well, I'd say this concludes the business part of the meeting, and we go on to the presentation part.
Computer can back up again. It makes a lot of funny pictures. Oh, it's gonna work. All right, we're gonna talk about grounds.
Would you like me to get these lights?
I don't know, is everybody see that okay, or do I have to light it down? I guess not. Anyway, in the radio amateur world, there's grounds, and there's grounds. First of all, we got lighting, we got DC grounds and equipment, we have AC grounds, that's for house wiring typically, and then we have RF grounds. Sometimes they're all connected together, sometimes they're not. But we'll talk about the different grounds. Anyway, the purpose of the first ground obviously is for lighting, and it's really a protection from high voltage static charges. It's not going to protect you much from lightning. If the lightning hits your house, all bets are off. We'll talk a little more about that later. Then there are DC grounds. It's a direct current, usually a return line from a power source of some sort. Most of you are familiar with that. It's not always, usually a chassis ground. If you think of some equipment, usually the DC ground is equivalent to the chassis ground, but not always. You can have a unit that's grounded what we call grounded, but it's not necessarily connected to the chassis. And then we have AC grounds, which is the alternating current, like in your house wiring. And you have basically 4 lines coming into the house. One's called L1, one's called L2. Across those 2 lines are 240 volts approximately, and then you have a neutral line, and from L1 to neutral, or L2 to neutral, that's your 120, which you typically use the most. And then you have the neutral line coming in, of course, and then you have one that's a ground. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We'll do the next one first, if I can figure out how to do that. That ain't gonna work. Okay, hit a button, I guess. Did it go?
You did.
Okay, yeah, good. Oh, lightning bolt protection, first of all, talk about. Typical bolt is about 200 million volts. You're not gonna protect it with a 6-inch long lightning protector. They call them lightning protectors, all they are is spark, some kind of transient protector. And they will protect if your neighbor gets hit by lightning, they'll probably protect your equipment. But if your house gets hit by lightning, that little lightning protector, it'll blow, but it's not going to protect anything because we're talking about a little tiny spark gap across a fuse of some sort. And so all bets are off. So what you need to do is, and by the way, you can have an antenna switch. You know, well, turn my antennas so the lightning can't get through there. Well, lightning already came 4 or 5 miles, and that little switch is messed up. The only way to protect your equipment, if you think you're going to get by lightning, and anytime you leave, certainly if you leave for vacation or you get involved where there's a storm coming up, a lightning storm, what you want to do is disconnect your equipment, and at least off the antenna. And if you want to unplug it from the AC line, that's a good idea also. Like I say, the lightning protector is a good idea. It will stop a static spike caused by a strike that might hit, a mile away or something, or even maybe you're in your neighbor's house. And then you want a good grounding in all your equipment, and that will reroute most of the spike to ground and hopefully protect your equipment. Same thing with your tower. You want grounds on that with good bonding. If you think about it, if you talk about this 200,000 volt arc, if you've only got 1 ohm of resistance, which isn't a whole lot, or even a quarter ohm, and use Ohm's law, you're going to figure out you're still going to have several thousand volts at that point. So you want to have multiple straps. In the case of a tower, you want 2 or 3 straps. You want them bonded very good. You want 3 good ground straps and nice conductive ground. That's the optimum. Obviously, everybody's not going to be able to do the same thing, but that's what you want to attempt anyways. little bit more lighting, but in the house, you're generally safe from light, you personally are safe from lightning strikes, as long as you're not talking on a phone. I'm talking about a landline phone, your cell phone's fine. And you don't want to be in the shower, because if lightning hits your, you've got a vent pipe up there that's grounded. And if lightning hits that vent pipe and you're in the shower, a lot of the electricity will go to ground, but a whole lot of it's not going to go to ground, it'll go to you. If you're outside, far from your house, a vehicle is a pretty good safe place to be in a lightning storm. Everybody calls it a Faraday cage. It is not a Faraday cage. It's nothing. Your HT works in your car fine. It's not a Faraday cage. But what it is, a nice thing, is a cage that will reroute the actual strike to ground through your tires. And a lot of cars have been struck by lightning. And at worst, I saw one, and it looked like a big bolt, and it looked to me like it hit the front of the car. And the only thing we could see was a pinhole, the hole in the paint, and it was maybe an eighth of an inch across. That was the only damage we saw there, but the whole car lit up inside. It was unbelievable, and the passengers were fine. So, by the way, the worst place you want to be in that car is with the door open and your foot on the ground, because you've lost all the advantage of the car. And obviously, your HT is fine to use in the house. Again, I just came across this when I was studying this stuff, but a lightning bolt contains 2 to the 13th power. If you convert that 20,000, or that 200 million volts to horsepower, it's equivalent to about, well, there it is, 20, whatever that is, giga horsepower.
That's trillion.
Yeah.
20 trillion horsepower.
20 trillion horsepower.
Yeah, it is. 12 zeros.
Oh, yeah, billion, trillion, 20 trillion, okay.
Yep.
Okay, anyways, by the way, 20 people were killed, you hear a lot about it, but only 20 people were killed last year. It used to be a lot more, but I guess just warnings from the weather people and stuff like that. It used to be in the 50 to 100 range, but now we're averaging 20 people a year killed with 200 injuries. So you don't want to be careful. Now we'll talk about DC ground. Again, could be the same as AC ground, or at least they could share the same circuit. But it's basically a circuit provides a consistent reference voltage on a path in your radio equipment or wherever. I'll show you a little schematic on that. But, it's just a common return path. It's not directly involved with lightning or even RF for that matter. It just is a low resistance path to ground in the case of a fault. Dave ran into a problem with that where he had a radio that blew that inductor, and that was because of, while he was operating, one of his DC ground wasn't really grounded, and he touched something else, a DC positive or something, and blew out a choke. So he was lucky, but anyways, that's DC ground. I won't talk too much about it, but just to see what a real simple schematic. There's a little amplifier. And if you see the schematic, you'll see these, some kind of, these are 3 different types of ground schematic symbols they use, but you can see there's 3 ground points. In fact, all it is just a common connection, those 3 points, in that, compared to that circuit. There is a difference, and that is, if I were to ground the signal with a wire like that, the wire has inductance and potentially some capacitive reactance in it. So they use the whole chassis in this particular case. They will use the whole chassis, so that eliminates most of that inductive type reactance. But enough on DC ground. Okay, we'll talk about your house power. Probably a lot of you are familiar with this, but you've got L1 and L2, as I talked a little bit before. The difference between L1 and L2, they're 180 degrees out of phase from each other. So these AC, we call it 120 volts. It's 120 volts RMS. In fact, if you look at it with the scope, that AC line goes up to 169 volts plus and 169 volts minus. The average, that is the effective power, or the effective voltage, is 120 volts. So RMS means root mean squared, just a formula to determine how effective 169 volts at 60 cycles peak to peak is. It happens to be 120 volts, that's how effective it is. Now, since these are out of phase, if I go across L1 and L2 with my scope, what I would see is the difference between this one and this one. We're now talking 340 volts. So, again, it's only 120 RMS. So if I put a load across L1 and L2, I'm going to get 240 volts for RMS. In your house, they typically take, at 240 you may have, that goes in there, your dryer may be attached to that or some other 220 volt device, but other than, probably have to have a furnace and certainly a heat pump if you're going to have to use it for that too. But typically they take the L1 and the L2 and they split it, and hopefully when your electrician wires your house, he kind of tries to balance that load. So that most of the outlets and loads in the house are on L1, not most, but half and half are on L2. Doesn't have to be that way, but it's, that's typically what they shoot for. And the reason for that is if it's totally balanced, neutral basically carries very little current. If it was unbalanced, neutral would carry more of that unbalanced current. So that's why they try it. The important part of this whole thing is the neutral wire was going to there. Somewhere in that box, it runs to a ground. And then they take that and they run it to earth ground. You want that neutral wire grounded in the box and nowhere else in the house. The reason for that is, for a couple of reasons, but the main reason is you probably have some, if you have a relatively modern house, you've got GFIs, or ground fault intermittent circuits. If that's not wired right, or you have a ground somewhere else in the house, it won't work right. And the GFI will protect you if you have it wired correctly. And I think the next slide will show that a little bit, maybe not. No, I guess not. Okay. Anyway, that's where it's at. That circuit breaker panel, ground and neutral are connected together. They shouldn't be connected anywhere else at any other point in the house. The reason for that, those little CFIs measure the current, any current flow between neutral and ground. Obviously, if it was grounded at that point, there'd be no current flow. But since it's only grounded at the circuit breaker, if you were to come across L1 or L2, one of the hot lines, and then touch ground, you could potentially get electrocuted. The GFI, which is in that circuit somewhere hopefully, will immediately detect within, I think it was within 5 milliamps, within 3 to 5 milliamps, I'm sorry, if it detects anything more than 3 to 5 milliamps of current, and it will shut the circuit off. It'll blow the little red button. You've seen the GFI, so it'll blow that little red button within about 25 milliseconds. 3 to 5 milliamps will give you a shock, but it won't kill you. And especially if it's only for 25 milliseconds, but you'll feel it. That same thing, other than you just come across L1 and then touching ground or vice versa, a short in a motor, for example, in your dryer or anywhere in the house, could in fact, you could, let's say you have short in your toaster, you touch your toaster, you're on L1. So anyways, that's where the GFI will protect you. In the house, by the way, it's supposed to be wired in a normal 120 volt branch. The black wire is the hot line. That's the one that's going to bite you. The white one is a neutral line, and then, again, they may be connected together at the fuse box, but they're separate everywhere else. So the ground wire is typically a bare copper or sometimes a green wire. By the way, a 220, one of those will be red. The 220 circuit, one will be red. Oh, we're going to talk about, this applies a little bit to RF and to AC. Okay, you've heard the term ground linkage, which can cause a lot of different kinds of trouble with your, this is what, in theory, the ground loop looks like. Yeah, in this case, you might have a transceiver, a linear amp, for example, or some other device, and a transmat or transmat type device. And you ground, you take a wire from the transceiver, run it up to the linear amp, and ground it, and take from the linear amp, run it up to the transmat, ground it. And then let's say, worst case, you've got a wire run out the window that goes 30 foot away to a ground line. You don't have a ground. You've got an antenna. You just build another antenna. And the reason for that is their current flow can flow in here. When you key up that transmitter, you're going to set, this is an antenna now. It's going to set up the ground loop there. You set up the ground loop here. this guy, long wire, is an inductor, which is gonna impede any, good current flow to run, or at least try to impede it. So this is the worst case scenario. The long ground, the worst part of it. The ground loops will probably cause some noise, 60-cycle noise in your transmissions or your receptions. But this guy here is going to give you a shock probably, and not give you a ground, either an RF ground or a AC ground, which you need. So now the secret is to make these shorter, and the easiest, I think I have a well, I put up here. When I do on mine, I have all the equipment pretty close together, and then I use this braided wire that goes to the ground wire to the back of each unit. And then in my case, I use a 5/8" copper pipe. It's about that long, and all those units connect to that copper pipe. I don't use this, I use just hose clamps. Put the braided wire in the hose clamp, tighten it down, but you can use something like this also. One of these work too, the braided wire will fold up nice and go right through in there. You want them all connected, very, very low impedance or very low resistance type device, so that they're basically eliminate most of that ground loop issues. So that works, but there's a lot of different ways. But you get bit or you hear somebody tell you they got noise in your signal, good possibility you have ground loop issues. Now, that's really an AC and to some degree RF ground, the thing I just showed you. But this one is work. Now we're going to just talk about the RF ground. I think it's important here in antenna, obviously. I'll just read that, but basically it's not the same directly as electrical or a lightning ground, although they may be all connected together at some point, but functionally they're different. An antenna, for example, the antenna, and there's a ground there, and that provides a reflective surface for what we'll use an automobile as an example, or the roof of your house. If you have a metal roof, for example, that'd be a great ground plane. And the top of the roof of your car is a pretty good ground plane at 2 meters and 440 and higher. It basically, most of the time, you've got something up there like a quarter wave antenna, and what it does, it provides the other half of the antenna. That's what the ground plane does. It effectively forms a dipole antenna. So, let's see right over here. The ground plane enables to make a dipole antenna's radiation pattern. That's typically omnidirectional. For example, if you have it on the roof of your car and you put it on one side of it, it's going to radiate off the other side of the car much better. So you typically want it symmetrically installed. And here's all the kinds of different RF grounds. Some of them they're not really ground, but they effectively RF they are. And there's what they call a magic carpet. I've used that. It's not great, but it does work. And at RF, that thing does become a pretty decent ground. Here's radios that typically have a vertical. You got something like this right there. Oh no, you don't need a ground now, do you?
I use it on some of the antennas.
That what?
I use it on some antennas.
Okay, but the one you got at your house on the DX?
No,
Okay, yeah. Now, on that, you've got.
mine's more like this on the
You
left.
got radials, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which that's the other half of your antenna. That is your ground. Coax goes to those radials. And there's the example of power. And this one I tried out on my RV fiberglass, and the roof is fiberglass rubber or something. And I used one of these at 2 meters. I extended those a little bit, and it actually provided a pretty good ground plane. Let's see. Oh, if you live in the second story, you, in theory, can't get to ground. You can run that big wire down to ground, 25 foot down, and go pipe somewhere maybe 5 foot away, and all you've got is an antenna. This is just that just becomes an antenna. It's no longer a decent ground. It's a relatively decent AC ground, but it's certainly not RF ground. There is a thing called artificial RF ground, and the way it works is It's almost like an antenna tuner on the backside. There's a resonant circuit in here. I think I have a picture of that. Yeah. Anyways, it's a resonant circuit, and you tune it on the particular frequency you're on. You tune it so that it becomes resonant at ground. At that frequency, and provides a low impedance path to ground. So to RF, it looks like a ground. So you can do that. But in any case, you want to have a good earth-ground radio system. Some antennas, instead of that, they have the radio, the counterpoise is the same thing as ground. A large metal roof is great. Wires, you put them out on the ground with grass staples, and next year you don't even know they're there, but they're there, and they make a very good ground plane. Chicken wire, a big field of chicken wire out there. What conductive ground is best? Marsh, salt water. You put it over your septic tank field. That's usually more damp than anything else, more conductive. Anyways, and you do have to some degree, consider longevity. By the way, it doesn't have to be bare wire. It doesn't. RF doesn't care. Just put a long ground wire out there. It's cheaper to use covered wire, but it doesn't matter. There are some. It's old urban legend, kind of. There are some things that will say, okay, if you're going to put up this antenna, let's say an 80 to 10 meter antenna, and it'll tell you have to have 4 radios this long, and 2 radios this long, and 16 radios this long, that is bunk. All you want is a good ground. If you put out 1,000 radios, that's fine. If you put out 12, that's probably going to be okay. There is some advantage the more you have, but it becomes so little, it's no longer worth the cost of the wire. So, yeah, don't get careful. By the way, there is one exception to that, and that is you don't want to use any wire that happens to be a half wavelength of the frequency you're going to operate on. It don't hurt you, but it does absolutely nothing, because that half wavelength becomes a very, very high impedance to your ground plane, or to your radio, or whatever you get it connected to. So it does nothing. It doesn't hurt, but it just does absolutely nothing. So you just want a bunch of random wires out there is the best way to do it. And if there is, the only truth to that urban legend is if you are going to operate 80 meters, you need more wires and more ground. If you're operating 10 meters, that's where you specialize in ground plane. You still have to have it, but 6 are plenty, and they can be shorter length. I think that's it. Well, let's see if we got any questions. That was the end of it. Any questions? Holy crap, I did good, didn't I?
You did good.
They got it.
Moist ground does make a huge difference too. I think a lot of times your grounding is going to be dependent upon what type of soil you have.
Oh, yeah, sure. That's why I mentioned you can if you put it over your septic tank, that's a good ground. Right? That's assuming you have a normal body of plants.
And if you've got like chicken wire down on the ground, but you've had an exceedingly dry summer, kind of like we had, if you water your yard, your antenna performance will increase astronomically.
And noticeable.
Just by watering your lawn.
Especially on 80, 40, even 20 meters. That's another thing. If you have an east trough that, I don't know how, if you just have it draining in the field, you can put your grounders there. That's the best place to have them. And by the way, because of, especially in Kentucky, we don't have a really good ground structure. Our ground is not conductive like it is in a lot of areas. It's not as conductive. So what I've done in my house, by the way, is I have right out, and luckily my hand shaft is 3 feet away from a window, and so I put in 3 ground stakes. I couldn't get one in 8 foot. I hit every time I tried to hit a limestone. So I put in 3 4-foot stakes near an east trough drain, and wired those 3 together, and then I used a big ribbon, 1-inch ribbon cable like I showed in that one foil, and then run that out from the rig and connect to the ground. I've never really had any ground issues. So it works.
Now, I know that a lot of people talk about it, but I do have a question about what's your opinion on bonding all your house ground and your antenna grounds and your RF grounds together?
Well, you can do all of that.
But is it critical?
Yes, it is critical.
Well, it depends, you wouldn't want to connect to the radios.
Radios, no, that's different.
Yeah, right.
Anything,
But that's the ground.
anything within the house.
Yeah, you want your coax to be grounded, effective at earth ground.
But doesn't the ground plug on your radio bond your ground?
Well, it's not a bond, the problem is that ground plug runs back to your fuse box or to somewhere.
Right.
And then, so there, yeah, for the 120 volts in normal usage, that 120, that ground is a ground. If the radio gets an internal short, it'll blow a circuit breaker, which is what you want it to do. Or,
So you're, with your bus bar, I have a
That's-
3/4 inch copper pipe.
Yep.
And so that's my ground bus bar, but I have it run into an 8-foot ground rod outside. Are you saying that I should take another ground strap and run it over to the water pipe where my house ground is connected?
no, you
Yes,
don't do that.
yes, you should. Now, well, first of all, I'll ask you this question. You just redid your plumbing, right?
Yes,
In all your house?
yes,
Is your line to the street still metal?
yes.
Well, it may not be, maybe in your case, it may not stay that way. Because what they do, if the line breaks going out to the street, they fix it by putting a piece of PEX pipe in like you got in your house. which is
My
not
whole
metal.
house is PEX now, but the stub coming from the street's metal and I have a big ground clamp on that.
Yeah, but if something happens to that, it's going to get replaced with plastic. So now you no longer have a ground there. So you need to have a ground rod on your electric.
Well, I can
That's-
I could ground everything to the 8-foot ground rod I have outside, I guess. If they took my took my water pipe out.
You want to have one ground near your near your service entrance or circuit breaker.
Yes.
You have to have a ground there. You
Yes.
have to have a ground.
Yes.
Okay. The one we're talking about now, for your shack, it's still gonna be ground, but you just want, if you're gonna run out of ground from there, you want it to go nearby as best you can.
Well,
You don't want to have to run a 30 foot, because now it can end up.
That's what I thought, so where my shack's in my basement and I have the 3/4 inch copper pipe as my bus,
Yeah.
and it just goes through the wall, so it's probably 5 feet to ground.
Yeah, that's.
Okay, but
Yeah.
I don't have it, to get to my house ground, I'd have to go across the basement on the inside, or,
That's okay,
but,
the ground you got is fine.
that's what I thought. And then I've also got some shorter ground rods where my antenna lines come in, and I've got those fusible things, which I know probably didn't do any good, but coax connectors, the fuses that are in them, the quick blow.
Like your projector.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have those connected to a couple of other ground rods
Yeah,
here.
they typically go to ground.
But I don't have it, the only bonding I have between my house ground and my RF ground is the grounded outlet.
One of the things they talk about bonding is if you just picture, you take a 16 gauge wire, right, and run it out to some pipe and you wrap the wire around it. That's, again, as I start off saying, if that was 0.5 ohms and you got a lightning strike, there was huge amount of voltage separation at that point. So that's why bonding is important. I mean, when I use the term bonding, they're using this cold, what they call cold welding or cold, they're doing that stuff now, like for a tower.
Yeah.
And those are helpful. And I think in my case, the 5/8 or what you're doing, the 5/8 pipe with the 1 inch braided line, that's pretty good. But again, I do 80 and 160, and I do a kilowatt or more. Never had a problem. Not too worried about it. That's about all I can do. The rest of it.
comment, just an experience. I took a lightning strike to the corner of my house.
On your house?
On the house.
Okay, yeah.
It was directed, it was me. Didn't touch the neighbors, nobody, just left me.
Yeah.
And I had a 2-meter antenna on that corner of the house. For some reason, the lightning decided it wanted to strike that 2-meter antenna.
Yeah.
Hit right on it. And unfortunately, and that was bad. It wiped out the antenna, took out 2 garage door openers where it was mounted, so on. The worst part about it was that I had a security camera mounted under that antenna.
Yeah.
And it hit the security camera, went up the camera lines to the camera system.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it got every camera, 10 cameras around the house.
Oh,
Didn't
that
burn
sucks.
any of the wires, but wiped out all 10 cameras.
Yeah,
I opened up the cameras and there was a big black spot that looked identical.
Oh, really?
So that's like 30 gauge wire, 90 feet long to
Yeah.
the cameras. Took out the cameras, did not take out the wire. In the course, the security system, guess what? Had an HDMI connection on it, went to a TV. And the TV went to the cable, satellite,
Yeah.
and went up and got all of the HDMI connections on 5 TV sets. And it wasn't the grounds that did it, it was, call it the high level. It was all of the interconnections between my electronics
Yeah.
that you don't think about being on the ground.
I know.
But all of your coax, or all of your cable lines, all of your HDMI lines, security systems, audio lines, all of that stuff, once it gets to one of them, it gets to all of them.
We had a strike at my place, not year before last, and I was outside, and I just saw the whole sky lit up, and it looked to me like it hit my tower. But my wife was looking, she was on the other side in the house, looking outside, and she said it looked like it hit the ground back behind my tower. So we don't really know what it hit, but when I got in the house, the first thing I did, I had nothing disconnected. I mean, well, I shouldn't say that, I had the antenna switches, all the antennas were switched to ground. But it didn't matter, it took out the RF amp on my, it was when I had them, but it took out the RF amp on one of the radios. And the only other thing is it took out 3 wall warts. 3 of the wall warts stopped working, which it's so unpredictable. I mean, this stuff just, by the way, on those lines, when you're worried about lightning, one of the things, or a surge somewhere, one of the things you want to do is don't put any of your wires or lines or at right angles. Make gradual curves out of it. And you can see that. If you take a screwdriver and put some high voltage on it, right, and it'll arc an inch. But if you take and you put a big ball on the end of it, you have to get it right up to it. So lightning likes anything that's like an antenna. It's a nice little sharp point, right? So anyway, yeah, it's pretty unpredictable. But luckily we don't get hit too often. By the way, most people that get killed, they say he was killed by lightning. Most of the time he didn't get killed by lightning. He got killed by a tree that exploded. When lightning hits a tree, it immediately turns to steam and blows all kinds of debris off. And we had a window break at our place. This was years ago, but a window broke in our front porch, one of those side windows next to the door. And it was from a tree that was 60 feet away. And the tree got hit by lightning and blew up, and blew a big chunk of its bark into our window. So. Yes?
I'm forced to operate from the second floor of my home. I don't have a choice. I knew not to run an RF ground. I knew that would be an antenna.
Well, can I ask, do you do HF or just?
HF.
Okay.
I read about running just long lengths of wire as a counterpoise. Does that work at all inside the house?
Well, RF thing it will, but it's not going to help you with true ground for your. We saw the not ground simulator, but artificial ground. They work. I've never had one, but I do know they work. But you have to tune it for every band. Are you running that way now?
Yeah, I
And how-
just got back on the air.
Not having any problem?
Not so far. I'm using my gutters as an antenna, and I've had a little trouble today after the rain.
Yeah.
But I've noticed no interference with equipment or anything. I'm just trying to get the best performance I can. And,
How long is your ground wire?
I don't have an RF ground wire at all right
Oh, you don't
now.
have one, okay, so you're using house wire ground basically.
Yeah.
If you're not getting any RF feedback and stuff like that, I mean, the only thing you're probably risking is a little bit of potential for shock, but, yeah. If nobody's complaining about your signal and you're not causing a bunch of RFI or something,
I've got a house full of electronics, and
Yeah.
there's a ton all around the house, and no
it
problems.
works. I operated for a short time from the second story and for a while, and I didn't have any decent ground like that either. I could get some things hot on the 160 meter band, but other than that, no problem.
And my old rig it would light me up. The
Yeah.
last FT 101 CD, but this is a brand new rig, and I'm
Yeah,
just told it goes better.
it's tough to model or predict. All you can do is just do the best you can with it, and if it works, and, anyway. Yeah.
So, when we have a radio and it has a ground lug on the back of it, we're basically, grounding for DC, right? Is that the?
It's basically grounded what?
We're grounding for DC by connecting that.
The one on the back of the radio is there to ground for AC.
For AC.
And to some degree RF, it shields the case, and the case is in shielded. So that you typically want that ground to go to ground. Now, if you were to meter that out, that case also goes to the center pin on your plug, that you plug into the wall, but that's not considered always acceptable, so.
So if we're running from the second floor and we try to ground down.
Yeah, that's, again, if you're on the second floor, problematic.
Okay, so yeah, that ground could be susceptible to that same effect, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Excellent.
And again, if you're not experiencing any symptoms, you're probably okay. It's just best to do the best you can and using, standard practices.
Two questions. I'm new here, Thomas, KQ4FNQ from Montgomery County.
Yeah.
You were talking about ribbon cable.
Uh-huh.
Are you coming from your ground bus that's in your
When I said ribbon,
shack?
yeah, I meant braided. I said ribbon.
Okay.
Braided, so steel braided cable or copper braided, yeah.
So are you going from multiple radios to a ground bus bar?
Yeah.
And a ground bus bar braided outside,
Braided out.
and then that's tied into your ground?
Exactly, so, yeah.
And what if you're underground? What if your shack is underground? You go through wall
Yeah, you can go through the wall or,
or down through the floor?
what?
Down, like if you're in a sub-level?
Yeah, closer you are to ground to something you can ground, the better.
I heard you talking about underground footage, and you couldn't get 8 feet, so you went with multiple shorter pieces. What's the minimum amount of ground, linear footage that you want underground?
You mean the ground stake
Yeah.
itself? Well, they typically, they sell these things 6 or 8 foot long, and they expect you to drive it in and use that. In my case, I couldn't get one in that deep, so I just bought 3, or I took 4 and made 3 4-foot pieces, and drove those in, and they're all within a triangle, basically, right outside the window of my shack. So, again, you just want that impedance or resistance from that stake to earth to be as low as possible, and that just means the more you can get to the ground, the better.
It's hard to get through raw.
Anyway, and like I said, put in a damp area, a shaded damp area, that's gonna be the most expensive typically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, if you can tie into, let's say, your, electrical entrance ground that isn't.
Are you near that?
Yeah.
No.
Or, can you do
Yeah,
that?
you can use that ground, I think, unless there's a code, is there a,
No, you can use it.
yeah.
In fact, you're supposed to, everything's supposed to be tied to
Yeah,
that port that enters into
there
the
is,
building.
whenever they go to a common ground. if not, there is potential for current flow. But I just I didn't know if there was any rules against tying into their. So yeah, you can tie right to that. That'd be, and that's probably an 8-foot stake or something like it.
And somebody else drove it for me. Gotta do that. So.
All right, you mentioned that.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Very good. Very good.
18 inches of ground that way. Better off even go through rocks not the next. You got a lot of distance in the rock. This is ground rock.
I could only get down about.
So I got a question.
Tim,
So I got a question. So
You won't
my
find it
electrical
right
box
now.
is probably
I got that at
6
Myers.
feet from where my shack is. And the ground wires, the big ground wires come on the top and it goes
That's
across
gonna be
the
a limited time.
It is, the factory
down the
down,
wall,
plants out of
big
it.
plant.
They won't make
Pipe
any
down
money
the
in
wall.
the spring.
Now, what if I grounded that bus just right up over my head with a nice big plant? Would that be fine? If I went straight up and over to that ground wire, would that be fine? Well, it's an old house, they run it to the water line, see, I replaced the water line. Because they run it right up the line to make the water line. So when I replaced all that, I had to run it around, like it's full of wire, over to where it comes to the metal part of the house.
An 8-foot rod.
I have an 8-foot rod right outside my radio.
It's got 7-foot power. You need to have one for the power line, like where
Well, they didn't build it that way.
I know they didn't build it that way. They started in 1980, started in plastic pipe. It said the water pipe is no longer considered to be ground. Now, if you've done that, you've got that long run in front, it's good ground. It's still here.
So I put an 8-foot pole, rod out there, which I can do easy enough.
If you do that, you got that sort of there.
And I can just disconnect that.
What you're trying to do, you're trying to prevent getting any kind of damage. Do that.
That's a great big signal.
If you don't, well, if you're
That's what they want.
Well, I just think the simple thing to do is
So I used to take a candid photo.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I have to deal with those.
Hey, we got another beer over there?
It's root beer.
I don't mind a root beer bottle.
All right, Bob.